Hello, and welcome to Steve's Mixtapes.
Greetings, Steve's Mixtape fans. I'm J. Eric Smith, calling in from Sedona, Arizona in the southwestern US of A. I'm a longtime music nerd buddy of Steve, a former guest on this show, and Steve's now graciously invited me to introduce this week's Mixmaster, the artist currently known as Buggy Jive. Buggy Jive is a soul rock singer-songwriter raised and based in upstate New York's Albany-Schenectady-Troy conurbation, home to the Empire State's capital, once the eastern terminus of the Erie Canal, and later the region that lighted and hauled the world. It remains a place beyond the pines where drums and guitars can still be heard along the Mohawk if you crank your stereo loudly enough. I lived in that area for about 20 years, working as a music critic, a music television show host, and as a booking agent for a performing arts space, among other gigs, so I was very involved and connected in what was, fortuitously, an amazing musical community. Sometime in the mid-1990s, I became aware of, and later met through friends, a remarkable singer, songwriter, and guitarist from the Albany exurb Del Mar named Bryan Thomas. Bryan issued 6 tremendous records between 1997 and 2008, mining a rich musical vein that's been described as equal parts Zeppelin and D'Angelo and Prince and Joni. On his 2008 release, 1369 Lights, he was joined by a new monster band called the Buggy Jive, their name inspired by Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man, and featuring Jennifer, who was too big for Schenectady, on electric guitar, Cleopatra Jones on bass, and Lady Mac on drums. But here's the rub. That whole band was Bryan, and Bryan was that whole band, and after a little bit of downtime hunkered in his secret basement bunker, his thing morphed and melded, magic-like, until he re-emerged from his creative chrysalis in 2018 with the superb Buggy Jive mixtape, the first of 14 album, EP, and single releases under the Buggy Jive moniker. All those releases are great, and all of them are highly recommended. Buggy Jive's thing is, indeed, more than enough, as he's blessed with an extraordinary voice, he's equally capable of massive shred and subtle nuance on his guitar, and he's McCartney and Rundgren-esque in his abilities to handle every instrument necessary to make the music he needs to make. Buggy Jive's lyrics are steeped in literary references, are often wry to funny, and equally often self-deprecating, and occasionally they're anchored in the deep biblical text that both he and I grew up with, coming from good old American church families. He's a musical force with something important to say, and the way he says it is most special indeed. By the time I left upstate New York in 2011, Buggy Jive and I were seeing each other fairly often, either at shows or at Denny's 2 a.m. hangs with our mutual friend and fellow stellar musician Jed Davis, or elsewhere rubbing shoulders with the region's rich creative community. One of my very last adventures in the Albany area found Buggy Jive and I heading to Dreamworld Recording Studios in the Catskills for a Jed Davis session featuring legends Jerry Marotta on drums, Chuck Rainey on bass, and John Sebastian on autoharp, among others. As the session went on, things started to get weird after Mr. Sebastian insisted that we all had to have an authentic Italian dinner together. Maybe Buggy will tell y'all about that in the episode ahead. It's a story that still makes me smile, as does the ongoing knowledge that this great musical talent is out there doing what he does so very, very well.
It's midnight at twilight, first night swing set adventure. She's a stranger right next to me. The drinks have got me singing out of tune, so she'd be like, you must be from Schenectady.
So welcome to Steve's Mixtapes, Bryan Thomas, aka Buggy Jive, and lovely to see you.
Yeah, it's very good to see you.
I presume you enjoyed listening to that little introduction from Eric?
Oh man, it's always weird to listen to, nice things about yourself. But I mean, he's such a thoughtful and deep and intelligent writer. So it's
Yeah.
It's very flattering, and he's a sweet guy.
Yeah, he's a really lovely guy. The reason I asked him, regular listeners will know I don't normally have somebody else do the introduction. The reason I
Mhm.
asked him was a because he set this up because you've known
Yeah,
Eric for a long time, and
yeah,
also because he was my introduction to your music, which, as I
yeah.
said to you earlier, I may never have heard without him. So I just thought it was fitting. So I have to ask about this Italian dinner with John Sebastian and others.
Yeah, it was like you know, in the Dreamland Studios and like their little kitchen. I remember I think I opted out of the lasagna, and I can't remember if it was because I'm pescatarian, so I don't really eat meat. I feel like it might have been a meat situation, but we also ate before we got there. And as soon as we got there, John Sebastian offered me half of his tuna sandwich, so I ate that.
Okay.
Which is a weird way to meet, like, one of your heroes. He's like walking up to the house. So I'm like, is that John Sebastian? He's like, hey, I got a half a tuna sandwich. I don't want to finish it. You want it? I'm like, I'll eat your sandwich, John Sebastian.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Brian, I wanted to ask you. So, what happened with the transition from being Brian to being Buggy? How did that come about?
Um, it's some of it was a little more practical as the streaming services were popping up, like iTunes and eventually Spotify. There were other people with my name
Hmm.
on them, and try as I might, I couldn't always separate my music from their music. And I had, as Jay Eric explained, I had created that album with my pretend band that I called the
Hmm.
Buggy Jive. Um, so I was like, why don't I just go by Buggy Jive? So that was really, it was more of a practical thing, but it was
Okay.
always also a way to kind of start clean and fresh and be kind of like this mysterious guy who makes music in his basement. Because at that point, I'd kind of stopped playing out live. So I was just thinking about, I can be this mysterious little soul rocker who puts out music into the world.
Yeah, and your website describes you as a bit of a recluse.
Uh, that might be overstating it, but and certainly in the last 2.5 years, I've been doing more, and especially in terms of getting out of the house and performing live. But I still, I still have my reservations. I don't know. I don't know. It's like once I'm up there on this, like last night I had a show and my voice wasn't, yeah, getting over a cold and other things, wasn't 100%, but the crowd was so receptive and so great. So it was a great experience. It's everything before, all the stuff you have to do before actually hit the stage and start playing. That is
Hmm.
like, but yeah, and I'm fundamentally kind of shy anyway too. So there's that aspect of it all. Yeah,
I
but
should tell listeners as well that you're sitting in a room that I recognise. I'll put some links to
yeah,
some of your videos up there, but I
yeah.
recognise the room from some of your videos, and I can see a keyboard. I can also see quite a nice looking collection of guitars back there as well. How many guitars do you actually own?
Uh, I think I have about, well, in the room right now, there's like 7 or 8, although there's a couple that you can't see. Maybe like 10 or 12. I probably have like 15 guitars. None of them are like, you know, super high end or expensive or whatever. But yeah, I have a nice little choice. And like in recent years, I've been going more acoustic, so I pick up the electrics a little less, but a
Okay.
couple basses as well.
So let's talk about your mix. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know whether you're somebody who sort of, ummed and ahed about it a lot and agonized over choices. I know you left two of them till quite close to the end. What was your process for putting it together?
It's like cramming for a test. But because I am such a, I don't want to say scatterbrain, but I mentioned it to you in the email. It's kind of a rabbit hole. You start thinking about one song, and all of a sudden you're
Mhm.
like looking online, and you're looking at Wikipedia and other articles for like origin stories because I love like learning about the creative process and the stories behind songs. And most of the songs I picked, I kind of knew the creative process behind them. But even then, there's always things to learn. So that was part of the struggle with what took me so long to pull together. I also find that like lately when I read books too, like especially I read a lot of nonfiction, and because of the nature of our modern world and the internet, it's like you stumble on, like I was reading Sly Stone's biography, and he'd mentioned like when he hosted the Mike Douglas show. So all of a sudden I'm on YouTube for the next couple hours watching Sly Stone hosting the Mike Douglas show in the 70s. So it's like yeah.
I know what you mean.
I'm a rabbit hole guy, yeah.
I recently read Nina Simone's autobiography. I Put a Spell on You.
Yeah.
I only read that. It's a relatively
Yeah,
slim
yeah.
book, but it took me quite a while
Yeah.
to get through it because she kept talking about this performance, and so
Yeah.
straight to YouTube or
Yeah.
whatever to listen to it. But it's part of the experience, isn't it? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go to your hit the ground running
Right.
choice. Now, this sets a bit of a record. Because this is the first time we've had 3 songs chosen from the same album. So Terry DeCastro, I think, of The Wedding Present, ex of The Wedding Present, chose a song from this album.
Yeah.
I chose on one of my own mixes a song from this album. And this is, as I've said on here before, I think one of the greatest debut albums ever. So this is the
It's
Pretenders' first album.
incredible. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I chose Precious as a hit the ground running track because I hope my mum's not listening to this one. I particularly enjoy the way Chrissy Hynde says "fuck off." And enunciation of that to be particularly pleasing.
That is at the core of her personality and why I love her so much. Yes.
Have you ever met her?
I have not. I got very close to her a couple years ago. I think it was 2019. She played at Mass MoCA, which is a contemporary art museum in Massachusetts. It's about an hour and a half away from me. And the Pretenders performed the first night, and the next day she gave a talk about her paintings. And then she came up in the gallery. There was like a VIP reception, and I was like, she walked by, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Chrissy Hynde. But I didn't actually meet her, no. But I
Okay.
did get close.
So you could have chosen. Well, there's the one slightly turgid instrumental on the album, but apart from that, anything you could have chosen on this would be absolutely spot on. But you've gone for "Tattooed Love Boys," which is one of the best songs
Yeah,
on the album. Why particularly this one?
I remember seeing that song in the early days of MTV, and it was just so, there was like a punk energy to it, but at the same time a cleanness, and the time signature is crazy.
Yes.
And coming into it years later, I mean, I know she had been involved in music, and reading her autobiography, it's like she was kind of a Zelig, being just being a soft member of the early form of Devo, on her college campus, and hanging out with David Bowie and Iggy Pop when they came to play in her town or whatever. Like, there's so much her involvement in music, but it just crazy for me that like this song with this crazy rhythm, came out of someone who wasn't necessarily, I don't know, schooled in like music theory, and like I was very I don't want to say impressed because that sounds condescending, but I was very intrigued, I should say. And, after reading, I knew there was a darkness to the lyrics, and I almost like hesitated with picking this song because after reading her autobiography and knowing the origin stories of the song, and like it's about an assault, like you kind of pick that up from the lyrics, but like when she spells it out in such stark terms in her autobiography, I don't know. It fills my heart that people can make great art from tragedy and trauma. And at the same time, I do have these mixed feelings about like, feeling good from something, or being inspired by something that came from so much pain and trauma or whatever. But she's so witty and wry and fierce, in general, but especially in this song as like a reaction to, what this experience she went through.
To me 20 doors around her heart's black and blue, the two love boys. I tore my knees up getting to you cause I needed to find out what the thing was for. I've been reading. Man, time came to explore. I went A-fire, cause I thought, like I liked it. Little tease, but I didn't gotta pay. Yeah. A good time is guaranteed for one and all. The tattoos, target practice in the hall while waiting for their number to get called out. I found out what the wait was about. I was a good time, yeah, I got pretty good. Changing tires, upstairs, bro. I shot my mouth off and you showed me what that hole's for. Now. I see you, all impressed and half undressed. Got paint and stick, all over the scars, lumps and bumps. You love boys have got you where I used to lay. Well, ha, too bad, but you don't know what they say. Stop sniffling, you're gonna make some plastic surgeon a rich man. Over the prestige and the glory, another human interest story.
From their debut album in 1980, that was The Pretenders with Tattooed Love Boys. As a non-musician, well, I play a little amateur guitar, very amateur guitar, for my own amusement only. The thing about the timing you mentioned, it feels all the way through like it comes in a beat earlier than you expect. I don't know if you're able to explain that in any more.
Yeah, I think it's 4 or 5, yeah, but then it goes back and forth. But and she talks about it in the book. She's like, I didn't even think about it. It just felt right,
I've not read that actually. I'm going to make a note to read that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, now, usual question at this point, Bryan, is to ask if you've always been somebody who has enjoyed making mixtapes, compilations, etc.
There was definitely, back in the day, especially in the 80s, making mixtapes for people. I did make a mixtape for my wife, but it included my own music, which was before she was my wife, but that was part of our origin story. But as a kid, I guess I would, and I'm talking elementary school, I would tape songs off the radio. So that was kind of my mixtape origins, I guess.
Okay. And you're, I should say, actually, you're not the first person to say that their future spouse was the recipient of a mixtape.
Yeah,
a few times, including here as well, I have to say. Now, you're something old choice. Again, somebody we've had before, Steve Shelley, drummer in Sonic Youth. He chose a song by the Staple Singers. But you've gone for Freedom Highway. So why be this one?
That song is fresh in my mind. A couple years ago, I had the pleasure of being a small part of the Evanston Folks Festival outside of Chicago. And Greg Cott, who's like a great music journalist from Chicago and wrote a biography of Mavis and the Staple Singers, was there. And he gave a little talk about how this song in particular was kind of like, it was written, anticipation of the march from Selma, Alabama to Birmingham, Alabama, the Freedom March, the Great Freedom March of 1965 for American civil rights and voting rights. And the Staple Singers were very, they weren't just writing the protest songs, they were on the front lines of the activism and working with Dr. King and some of the other activists. Um, he made the case that this song was kind of ground zero for, you know, energizing the movement, even though it's somewhat forgotten. Um,
Mm.
and I also just saw Mavis at the Beacon in New York City just last month, and she did this song, and she's 88 years old, and I tell you, like the fire in her, like she really is a force to be reckoned with. She's just an amazing human being, and you know, if she ever wants to give up the music, I think she could be a stand-up comedian because she's funny as heck. On the plane home from that folk festival, I was listening to the album and I got an email inviting me to I didn't think I'd get emotional talking about this, to perform at a memorial service for a civil rights legend from, you know, my hometown area in Albany, New York, who had just passed. And as I'm listening to this song, I get this email. So I'm like, I have to play this song at the memorial. So that's another reason why this song is near and dear to me, because I got to perform it for, you know, a friend who had passed and was, you know, an iconic, Alice Green is her name, and a kind of iconic civil rights leader right here in New York's capital region.
Oh, freedom highway. Each and every day. Oh, freedom highway. Each and every day. Made up my mind, and I won't turn around. Made up my mind, and I won't turn around. There's just one thing I can't understand, my friend. Why some folks think freedom is not designed for all men. There are so many people living their life perplexed, wondering in their mind what's gonna happen next. Oh, freedom the highway. Each and every day. Oh, freedom the highway. Each and every day. Made up my mind, and I won't turn around. Made up my mind, and I won't turn around. Found dead people in the forest, Tallahatchie River and Lake. Whole world is wondering what's wrong with the United States. Yes, we want peace, if it can be found. Marching freedom the highway, but I'm not gonna turn around. I think I voted for the right man. Said we'd overcome. Stay on freedom the highway until the day is done. Oh, freedom the highway. Each and every day. Oh, freedom the highway. Each and every day. Made up my mind, and I won't turn around. Made up my mind, and I won't turn around.
From 1965, the Staple Singers with Freedom Highway. Now, we're on to something new. Now, this is a particularly interesting choice, this one. But before we get to that, Brian, I often people, you know, how do you try and keep up with what's coming out, what's contemporary these days? Because there's so much new music comes out. Apparently, quite a lot of it generated by AI as well. But let's not go there.
Yeah, it's a fire hose. A lot of folks I know like discover music through the streaming services, particularly Spotify. I just find like my tastes are so eclectic that Spotify doesn't really understand what I like.
its algorithm is quite limited, isn't it? If you come across an artist you
Yeah,
really like and you say, well, let's do the playlist based on this, it tends to stick very heavily to
it
three or four other artists, doesn't it?
it's very genre based, and I've come to terms with the fact that like I'm not really a genre guy. I'm more of a vibe guy. Like even I don't know. I just so all of this to say is like usually my music discovery is through friends and people I'm listening to. A lot of the music I listen to is people I know personally, which feels narcissistic almost, or I don't know. But just being part of like these different music communities, it's helpful to be able to talk to people about their creative process and be impressed by them and be inspired by them. And when you know them directly, that's kind of cool as well. It's kind of like, I imagine back in the day with like the Seattle music scene or the Austin music scene or the downtown New York punk scene where all these artists were kind of inspire each other. Now it's a little more, global thanks to, our love-hate relationship with the internet. But
Mm.
it's kind of like that same vibe where it's like I'm listening and feeding off, people that I've, met and interacted casually in person and online.
I usually ask, so how did you come across this artist? People something new choice. But I can't really do that here. So do you want to tell us about what you've gone for, Brian?
I will say it was a little embarrassing that I picked myself for this, but I was trying to, I was trying to go, and I was really trying to think of like friends who had released stuff in the last year to give, people a shout out. And it was always like I was always like just a little bit missing the mark. Like Kaya Cater's album, who's also on this playlist. I was thinking, oh yeah, I can do it. And I was like, oh, that album came out, 2 years ago. So, but I figured my music is what is kind of what brought me here and brought us together.
Yeah.
So we might as well have a conversation about it.
I'm more than happy to play one of your songs, Brian. More than happy at all.
Uh,
So you've gone for some of your recent album, Icarus Ascending.
yes,
It's the opening track you've gone for as well, isn't it?
yes.
Yeah. So if you were going to choose something off your new album, why particularly? Is this the song you're proudest of, or do you think it fitted the mix best? Or
Yeah, it was it's short. I mean, relatively short for me. It's upbeat. It touches on some of the themes that, are recurring throughout, my music, which is about a lot of times about songwriting itself and where I fit in um this vast thing we call music in the music industry and as we were saying, genres and stuff. Um, so it's a little bit about that, and it's like it's got a yeah, I don't know.
what's your process with sort of the music and the lyrics and so on? So, do you think of something that you want to write about and write a lyric about it? Do you come up with a couple of lines you think are pleasing, then sort of craft a song around it? How does it work, or does it happen in different ways?
That is a really good question, and my answer is always like it's usually the music first. I have
Mm.
to have something that feels like me, but also feels like something I haven't done before. So there's got to be like a newness of an energy to it. And then, every now and then I'll come up with like a lyric idea and I'll write something down. So I do have like a note, you know, a couple, phone notes of like lyric ideas and stuff. But it really, for me, it really has to start with the lyric. And as I've discovered, like most of the most of the artists that are my faves start with the music. Even someone like Joni Mitchell, who is, so well known for her poetic lyrics and the beauty of and the care and craft that she takes with her words. She starts with the music and like the vibe of what she's playing, folds into, you know, a concept that she wants to come across with the lyrics. What was it? Yesterday started out as
Oh, that's bizarre. I was just about to say that as well. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, tell you why I was going to say, because I had a friend at university called Paul, who was a very talented musician who wrote a lot of songs, and he used to
Yeah.
come up with something on the piano guitar that pleased him, and he'd make
Yeah.
something up off the top of his head, often complete
Right.
gobbledygook, just to match, and then he'd sit down and think, right, well, what words would go with that? And I was going to say a bit like Paul
Yeah.
McCartney and the scrambled eggs. My girlfriend
Scrambled eggs. Yeah.
scrambled eggs.
That's
My
it.
girlfriend
That's
has
it.
got lovely legs.
Yeah.
A very
I
witty
was
little-
just talking about this, and I can't remember who I was talking about it with, but it was like, yeah, we were agreeing that like sometimes, you've got to come up with the melody and then fit the lyric to it. Like if you do it backwards, it can sound kind of forced, and that's where you get like lines that don't always
Hmm.
and it can sometimes make the lyrics a little more unintelligible if you come with the lyric first before the melody. So that's part of the craft part. Yeah.
Well, I think the serendipity of that coincidence there was both thinking about the scrambled egg story. Just goes to prove that this was the right choice. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's hear it now. This is Buggy Jive with "This Will Never Be on the Radio."
We're bands with the style and the name of the band. Elevator pitch conception. Blues as folky metal, local one man jam brand. Funkadelic is the only exception. One groove under a nation. Here come the mothership up in America. You can't just change the station. This will never be on the radio. We're skinny boys, we're back in the name of the band. But we're skinny boys in general. Pricey, dirty leather boots, smashing strime on pedals, smashing, washing ones and zeros, washing reverb, patent tension, intergeneral, everything and nothing, all is ephemeral. Making moves in a exploitation. Here come the mothership up in America. You can't just change the station. This will never be on the radio. I got 10 buggy commandments, the band, seeking musical enhancement. Jake to joke and woke to wake, son. Just be careful what you take from when you shake and bake, son. The rule is just be cool. And the rules are the rules, are the rules, are the rules, are the rules, are the rules. I just want 'em to fly. I just want 'em to rise above it all. Just take to the sky. Wax wings of those who love to fly. All your love to all. All your love to all. Cut your own camera with the heart. Or reversal reparation with the constellation. 30 miles zone. Everybody wanna go. Time on daddy, wanna be one. Seem like fun, yeah. Girl, I love you. Bunch of trouble, yes to glamour, but no to all of the struggle. Don't be scrambling for justification. Swing down, sweet chariot, up in America. You can't just change the station. 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 Never be on the radio.
From his 2025 album Icarus Ascending, and there will of course be a link to go on and buy that on the webpage at stevesmixtapes.com. That was Buggy Jive with This Will Never Be on the Radio. Now, am I right to think you pretty much play everything on your music? Is that right?
I do. I do purchase sample drum packages, which I'm not proud of, but it is live drumming. Um, it's just loops and samples, and I usually
So I was
put
interested.
those in.
Similar question to the lyrics and music, really. How
Mhm.
does it work? I mean, I would imagine you start with a rhythm track, but is that how it, is there a particular order in which you tend to put it all down?
When I do a demo, usually it's just me and the guitar, and I kind of map out the song and the structure, and then I find the tempo, and then I go to my little library of drum loops and try to find something that kind of matches the vibe. And there usually those drum packages have enough different variations of a beat and fills and like chorus part or an intro or an outro. So there's usually enough that I can like kind of line up where I want songs to like go from a verse to a chorus or transition or come to like a stop. So it's usually easy for me to build the rhythm, but I do, yeah, usually I just lay down one like loop and just kind of play along with just this mic and the guitar and then I just kind of build the layers around from those kind of guide tracks. Yeah.
And your vocals always sound quite layered. How many sort of vocal tracks do you normally have on a song?
Um the most I've ever done was 100 because
Oh
the name of
wow.
the song was 100 voices. So I figured I should I should have 100 voices on it. Um Usually, sometimes I'll double or triple the parts, so it can be as many as like 20 or 30. But lately, I do like kind of a tighter sound, so I won't do as much layering. So I'll do like 4 or 5, just to make it feel more natural.
I mean, I don't want to make you feel modest like before with Eric's intro, but one of the things I love about your music is musically, it's often quite sparse. There's
Mhm.
you can hear the space between things in the music, and then you've got this really, really layered set of vocals on the top in contrast to it. And I think that's one of the things I really like about it.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's something I in my DNA just from listening to Prince and Joni Mitchell because they both do a lot with layered
mm,
vocals. Yeah, I
okay.
think Prince got most of that from Joni actually.
Well, we'll get to both of them shortly, but before that, we've got your
Yeah.
something borrowed choice. So you've gone to a very famous artist doing a very famous song. I had heard this before.
Hmm.
I'm not a big radio listener,
Yep.
and I know that many of my audience, certainly in the UK, will listen to BBC Six Music a lot, which I don't. For reasons I won't go into now. But I do often listen to the Giles Peterson show on a Saturday afternoon because I normally am ferrying my various children of various ages about on a Saturday afternoon. So I have it on in the car. And
Yeah.
he played this 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think. And I was quite taken with it. It's quite a moving delivery. So it's Al Green.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a Reverend Al Green, isn't he?
Yes, the Reverend Al.
The Reverend Al, doing Everybody Hurts by
Hmm.
REM. So what led you to select this one?
It's funny. I heard like a maybe 6 months or a year earlier. I heard his cover of Lou Reed's "Perfect Day,"
Hmm.
which I thought was also an amazing choice, an amazing delivery. There's something about this song. I don't want to sound cold or even though I am like growing up, as someone who came of age, I think this came out when I was in college. And I know the song like saved lives and it was a beautiful song and it meant a lot to a lot of people, but I just saw it used a lot by people that really had no right to be sad. It's like I don't, it's like that teen angst. So I never really connected with the song because I kind of connected it more with people who were, being dramatic about, I don't know.
Pseudo angst.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. And it was nothing about REM or the choice. It was more my, I don't know, interactions with people who like the song. And yet, like even like thinking about the song being performed by like from jump, like it's like I finally got the song, hearing it delivered by the Reverend Al. There was just something about it that cut, and I was like, you know, in tears listening to it. It's just like just like there's just an honesty that cuts through. And I like that, like the pace of it. Like he didn't like slow it down too much. Is I don't know. It's just it hit me hard. It's beautiful.
When your day is long and your nights, the nights are yours alone. When you're sure you've had enough of this life, but hold on, hey, don't let yourself go. Don't know, 'cause everybody cries, hey, and everybody hurts. Oh, sometimes everything seems wrong. Oh yeah, now it's time to sing along. Oh my, when your days and nights are long, if you feel like letting go, oh no, think you've had too much of this life, but just hold on. Well, hold on, hold on, hold on. Everybody hurts. My. Take comfort in your friends. 'Cause everybody hurts. Yeah. Don't throw your hands up. No, 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 no. Don't throw your hands up. Don't throw your hands. Oh, you feel like you're alone. No, 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 you're not alone. Oh, yeah. When you're on your own in this life, your days and nights are long. Oh yeah. When you think you've had too much of this life, just hold on. Hold on. And everybody hurts. And everybody cries. Oh yeah. And everybody hurts. Sometimes. Oh yeah. Keep on holding. Keep on holding. Keep on holding on. Keep on holding on. Hold on. Hold on.
Al Green with his cover of Everybody Hurts, the Something Borrowed choice of my guest this week, Buggy Jive. Now, we're on to your Something Blue, and we've mentioned Joni Mitchell, and we've got Joni here. So this is from, I guess many people say, one of her greatest albums, Hissing of Summer Lawns.
Yeah.
You mentioned about her lyricism before, and this is a really intriguing lyric. It's quite hard to pin down what it's all about.
And that is partly what I love about it. I love the poetry that comes out of a dialogue and everyday conversation, and this is one of those songs, like every time I hear it, even though there's like a sparseness to the lyric, you can hear the tension between the presumed man and woman who are going back and forth in this song. It's beautiful and frightening, and sorrow is right there in the title. So that, you think I would have picked something off the Blue album as a Joni fan, but no, I went to Hissing of Summer Longs. And this also, what I like about this song is also kind of what I like about my closing choice. It's that same poetry from everyday conversation and dialogue. And the opaqueness of it too, that like allows me to hear something new in it every time I listen to it. The other thing I love about this song is the bass line is in my DNA, because the bass player on this song is Wilton Felder, who also played bass on, among other songs, Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On, but a couple of the Jackson 5's biggest hits, including I Want You Back, and especially ABC, which was like my favorite song as a kid. And when I learned that, now I listen to this song and I can hear that same vibe and energy of the bass line in ABC in this song. And it just, I don't know, it was like a kind of a full circle moment for me when I first learned like who was the bass player on this.
I also, going back to the lyrics, I picked out a couple of the lyrics.
Yeah.
I particularly like "Truth goes up in vapors, the steeples lean, winds of change, patriarchs snug in your Bible belt dreams." I don't really know what it means, but it's intriguing. And also, I've got a head full of quandary and a mighty mighty thirst is a great line too. There's obviously some biblical type imagery in there. When Eric came on the show, he chose a song of yours and he chose "The Curse of Ham," which of course is about a biblical story, a particularly interesting biblical story.
Yeah.
Is spirituality, is that an important part of your music?
I think it is. I mean, as Eric mentioned, like we're both from church families. My dad was the Reverend Willis Thomas III. He was a lot cooler and more liberal than you'd expect from a Black Baptist preacher from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. As I was mentioning on stage last night, he took me to my first concert in 8th grade, which was Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay.
So
I don't think Eric's parents would have taken him to see Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, he was a very cool character. But yeah, obviously that informed me. I was thinking like my something old choice. If I hadn't just seen Mavis, it probably would have been something off of Aretha Franklin's Amazing Grace album, because that's another song that like I heard all the time in the house as a kid, so it's part of my musical DNA. And I do think about like how I listened to music before I could deconstruct it, like even knowing what a bass line was or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's there. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a religious person, but I do like going back to the text for songs a lot, because a lot of, it's the template for a lot of themes of, the conflict and tension that, we deal with personally and, globally and, on a wider scale. And particularly with this song, it's like...
Well, we haven't actually said what it's called, so I'll introduce it now. So this is Joni Mitchell with "Don't Interrupt the Sorrow."
Don't interrupt the sorrow. Darn right. In flames our prophet, which is people light. A room full of glasses. He says, "You're Notch's liberation doll." And he chains me with that serpent to that Ethiopian wall. Anima rising, queen of queens, wash my guilt of Eden, wash and balance me. Anima rising, uprising in me tonight. She's
She's a vengeful little goddess with an ancient crown to fight. Truth goes up in vapors, the steeples lean. Winds of change, patriarchs, snug in your Bible Belt dreams. God goes up the chimney like childhood Santa Claus. The good slaves love the good book, a rebel loves a cause. I'm leaving on the 115. You're darn right. Since I was 17, I've had no one over me. He says, enemy rising. So what? Petrified wood, processed tall timber down to rock. Don't interrupt the sorrow. Darn right. He says, we walked on the moon. Be polite. Don't let up the sorrow. Death and birth and death and birth and death and birth. He says, bring that bottle kindly and I'll pad your purse. I've got a head full of quandary and a mighty, mighty, mighty thirst. 17 glasses, Rhine wine, milk of the Madonna, clandestine. You don't let up the sorrow. He lies and he cheats. It takes a heart like Mary's these days when your man gets weak.
Right, we're going to take it down now. So this is, am I saying her name correctly? Kaya Cater?
Kaya Cater, yes.
This is interesting. Follows on quite nicely with the Joni one because there's a bit of Joni about the sound to this, isn't there?
Very much so. And this is the rest of her album, she came to it thinking that she would bring more modern production to it. And what she actually wound up doing instead of doing loops and samples was playing more of a repetitive loop-like banjo lines. So in the rest of the album, you can kind of hear that in the process, but this is this track itself is much more sparsely produced. But there's something about the story of this song, and it's something I try to do in my songs, or want to do, but have never really successfully done, like tell like a real perfect short story in a song, but like just this mundane encounter with a dude on the street, and some of the lines that she says in this just like really hit home.
The stranger crosses the street like Moses, parting cars like the sea. Maybe he's on his way to an office where he calls his employees a family. Maybe this week he'll sneak to a motel to cheat with a woman from high school. He'll sing a carefree tune and glimmer like a one-sided mirror everybody can see through. What if he's just like me, going through the motions? Oh, what if he's just like me? I've been wondering. I only cross at a street light. I drag around my baggage, but I'm scared to look inside.
What would I find but the signs of a wreckage, a collision of exhaustion and grind? I've been working twice as hard to get half as far. Maybe the stranger and I are two sides of a penny that's been flipped by a god's hand. Two clocks that began centuries back with a billion grains of sand in the hourglass. A couple dice on the pavement. The underdog and the favorite. Maybe he's just like me. History in motion. Oh, it's so lonely, so lonely. History in motion. I wanna feel how it feels to be free of all this history in motion. I've been wondering.
From the 2024 album Strange Medicine, Kaya Cater, with History in Motion there. Would you say you are somebody who listens to a lot of things that aren't sort of the traditional UK, US-based music?
You know, that is that's might be one of my many great failings. Is that was the one that kind of stumped me. I think the tracks that I was looking at were very long. Like I didn't realize how long Fela Kuti's songs are.
Oh, they are, yeah. That's one of the glorious things about them, though.
But that was, that was like my first go-to. But I was like, ah. And, a buddy of mine just happened to text me. He's like, oh, check out this, Korean rapper singer. I was intrigued. So there's a video of her doing this song. And I think she's performing it live in the phone booth. She's not just lip syncing.
Yeah, you emailed me this, and I looked it up because I was slightly intrigued. And yes, I think she is. And there's something, it's not just that about it. There's something very, it's going to seem like a very banal thing to say, something very real about it, isn't there?
It's so compelling. It's like she's actually on the phone with someone. I just found it to be beautiful. The studio version is great, but that live, I don't know, something about it just like kicked me in the heart. It was really, really gorgeous.
I'm not really used to this shit, but I'ma just do it. I hope my mama will like this song.
Man, how you doing? I'm good. Don't ask about me, I'm good. 까마득한 추억 다 정리해서 남은 건 당신의 성뿐. 담배라도 피워 떨쳐볼까 이 긴 현실을. 녹록지 않은 삶의 순간에도 내 얼굴엔 당신의 얼굴. 소난 못 감았고 뭐가 틀린 건지 도대체 갈 길이 없어. 좀 일찍 철든 유일한 딸내미 소녀 같은 엄마의 버팀목. 담임 선생님 옆집 봐주마 할아버지도 누가 있었더라. 따뜻하지만은 않았던 내 유년엔 누가 없었더라. Man, I don't blame you. 그저 당신 나름의 이유가 있었겠지. I don't blame you. 피치 못할 너른 내 이유가 있었겠지. I don't blame you. Yes, I don't blame you. Then you don't have to blame me. 나에겐 당신도 그저 모르는 아저씨지, huh? Papa, where you going? I don't feel much love. Mama, why you crying? Damn, I really don't know. Left my mommy all for you. I didn't even get to choose. 난 아무것도 모른 채 멍하니 떨어진 조각을 바라보고만 있어. Left my mommy all for you. I didn't even get to choose. 난 아무것도 모른 채 멍하니 떨어진 조각을 바라보고만 Now back to 2011 여자 셋집 유일한 남자른이던 할아버지 장례식 중 어딘가 낯선 남성의 방문 아빠라는 호칭 대신 엄마 다리 뒤로 숨어버린 뒤 물었지 Do I need to go with him 어쩌지 I don't wanna go with him nowhere 어색한 정막을 깨려 사주셨던 평소 못 먹던 정푸드 한입 먹고 난 뒤 어린 날에 나는 물어 하나만 더 사줄 수 있냐고 외로운 웃음을 지며 당연하다 말하던 당신께 마지막인 줄 알았음 말해줄걸 굳이 이러지 않아도 돼 Papa, where you going? I don't feel much love. Mama, why you crying? Damn, I really don't know. Shit. Left my mommy all for you. I didn't even get to choose. 난 아무것도 모른 채 멍하니 떨어진 조각을 바라보고만 있어. Left my mommy all for you. I didn't even get to choose 난 아무것도 모른 채 멍하니 떨어진 조각을 바라보고만 있어 Left my mommy all for you I didn't even get to choose 난 아무것도 모른 채 멍하니 떨어진 조각을 바라보고만 Bye bye
From the 2024 album 16 Fantasy, that was Lee Young-ji with Unknown Guy, the Around the World choice of my guest mixer this week, Bryan Thomas. Now, on to Left of Centre. Now, I remember this very vividly. This came out and was a big hit in the UK. When I was about 12, I think so. And like probably most people my age, being completely perplexed by it and almost thinking, are you allowed to make songs that sound like this? Because there's no drums in it. There's no chorus. It's just weird noises and this strange one robot voice. So it's Laurie Anderson's "Oh Superman." It definitely Left of Centre, but a particularly famous Left of Centre song in many ways.
Yeah. It's pretty mainstream avant-garde.
It is. So it was actually a hit. It got to number 2 in the UK singles chart, which is back in the days when that meant something. Was it a big hit in America as well?
I don't think it was as big a hit as it was in the UK, and that was the origin story. She was, I feel like she was selling the vinyl like out of her apartment, or there was something about like the demand was way beyond what they thought it was, and there was trouble like fulfilling orders and.
I think I read somewhere that they made 1,000 copies of it, and I think they were basically shipping it out of a house somewhere. They ran out.
Yeah. I saw her, interestingly, at the same Massachusetts museum where I saw Chrissy Hind, and she was talking about her origin story and stuff. But also at that museum, they had her virtual reality exhibit, which was really you just put on the glasses and she's like taking you through this land of chalk drawings, like kind of like Simon in the Land of Chalk Drawings. It was gorgeous. But as I left, the music that they were playing was "Oh Superman." I was like, and that took me back to when I first discovered it, when I was at a kind of a media arts summer camp for high school nerds. But that was where I was introduced to a lot of so-called left of center art and music.
Oh, Superman. Oh, John. Oh, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad. Oh, Superman. Oh, John. Oh, Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad.
Hi. I'm not home right now, but if you want to leave a message, just start talking at the sound of the tone. home. Hello? Is anybody home? Well, you don't know me, but I know you. And I've got a message to give to you. Here come the planes. So you better get ready, ready to go. You can come as you are, but pay as you go. Pay as you go. And I said, okay, who is this really? And the voice said, this is the hand that takes. This is the hand that takes. This is the hand that takes. Here come the planes. They're American planes, made in America, smoking or non-smoking. And the voice said, neither snow nor rain, nor blue night shall stay these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed round.
From the 1982 album Big Science, that was Laurie Anderson, of course, with Oh Superman, number 2 hit on the UK singles chart in 1981, championed by John Peel. Of course, that was one of the main reasons it became a hit. I think he plugged it. Now, onto your wild card choice. Now, Brian, I didn't know this artist at all, but this is somebody else a bit interesting. Haitian and French descent, she is.
Yes.
Cécile McLaurin Salvant, is that how you say it?
Yes. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about her.
A buddy of mine who was tour managing for the Newport Folk Festival's traveling tour, what they do is they take like up and coming jazz young guns and kind of put them in a band together, and they tour around. And so he was a tour manager. They came to Troy, and she was part of that. So I met her backstage, but I was like, I thought I had just discovered her, but even at that point, she'd had a couple Grammys or whatever. And she played this song, Moon Song, that night. And it just like, it was so sparse and quiet and perfect as a love song. And her phrasing and her delivery is really like, it's so old school, but still contemporary at the same time. I don't know. There's just something about her that blew me away. And I was like, in awe. I was mixing and mingling with like the other folks backstage. There was I think Bria Skronbergers, who's a jazz trumpeter, and Christian Sands was part of the band, and they were all like, really well-known up-and-coming young giants, but Cecile was like the one that I was like totally afraid of because she was just so otherworldly. And I did see her at Carnegie Hall last year, and she performed a version of Paul Simon's American Song that he rewrote for Rhiannon Giddens. And so the line, and I had forgotten that, and I hadn't expected it. I knew that he had written that, but when she got to the line, "We came on the Mayflower," Paul Simon rewrote it for Rhiannon as "We didn't come on the Mayflower," to be more about,
Mm.
the slave trade and the folks who were dragged here against their will. And seeing her do that at Carnegie Hall last year, just like that, another kick in the heart moment.
If you should love me, don't ever tell me. Show it. That's how I'll know it. In fact, it's better not to show me at all. Let me pine, let me yearn, let me crawl, let me write you a song, and long to belong to you, write you a song from a distance. Let me love you like I love the moon. Let me love you like I love the moon. Let me love you like I love the moon. Let me love you like I love the
Moon Song by Cecile McLaurin-Salvant from her 2022 album Ghost Song. You mentioned her covering American Song. I presume you've heard her cover of Wuthering Heights?
Yeah,
Yeah, I came across that looking her up, and that's beautiful because she does something interesting with it, and that's particularly interesting because I had somebody on, Joe Rolls, who appeared on the show. Well, he'll be out sort of 2 or 3 weeks before you. He
Yeah.
chose an English indie band called China Drum, did a version of Wuthering Heights, did a proper sort of
Oh,
punked up
nice.
thrash version of it.
Oh,
And
that's
hers is sort of the opposite end of the spectrum.
yeah,
Hers is
yeah.
quite ghostly and ethereal and whatnot, but it's beautiful. I'll
Yeah.
put a link to that as well because that was
Awesome.
really
I'll
nice.
check
So I
that.
enjoyed that. Yeah. Okay, Brian. So we're nearly at your finale choice, but I normally ask people about their plans for the rest of the year. I'm speaking to you towards the end of March in 2026. Icarus Ascending came out last year. Will there be another Buggy Jive album this year?
I don't play out much, but I did just have a run of shows opening for Joy Clark, who's a great singer-songwriter from New Orleans. but I don't have much coming up. But I am writing new songs, so I think I'm gonna just start recording again and see what happens. So maybe in like a month or two, I might have like a
Okay.
single. Maybe I'll release some singles to the streaming services. I don't know. I hate how it works now. I really do.
I can understand
It's
that.
like I mean, like I don't want to say the album is dead because especially for certain genres, people still want, full albums of music, but releasing full albums of music is it's harder to make them, stand out among the noise, without like releasing like nine of the tracks
Well, people
one
don't
month
have
at a
the
time
attention.
first.
People don't have the attention span anymore, and it's a
Yeah,
generational
yeah,
thing as well. And I've mentioned this on a few shows before. I have my older children, some which are teenagers. They like
yeah.
individual songs. They hear a song on a TikTok, and that's a great
Right,
song, and they never go off and investigate the artist.
right, right,
They just know that song. So I'll hear them
right.
listening to something on the phone and say, "Oh, that's
Yeah,
a great song. That's something from the late '70s or something," and they'll say,
yeah,
"Oh, you should
yeah,
listen to whatever," and they don't
yeah,
because that one song is enough. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm sounding like Grandpa Simpson shaking my fist at the cloud there. So we'll move on.
I'm with
So,
you though. I'm with you.
your finale choice, you've gone for a Prince song. You've gone for one of my favorite albums, actually, Sign of the Times.
Yeah,
I remember hearing the title track for the very first time. That's one of those songs that hits you in the
yeah.
face. You think, wow, how, that's incredible. And the lyrics on that are amazing. The stuff like big disease with a little name. I mean,
The,
that's an amazing line.
there is a news the front page of the LA Times. There's a certain date, and like most of those things in that first verse were things that were on the front page of the LA Times that day. Because
Um,
I think they had been in LA. There was an earthquake at that time, and it freaked him out. And then, so it was like right after that. Kind of like Day in the Life. There's the
yeah. Before we get to something chosen, I mean, I think you
Mhm.
are quite often, your music is compared to
Yeah.
Prince. I've done that. There are times when yeah,
Speak of the devil.
I can see him over there. Does that bother you when people compare your music to Prince?
S- um, sometimes for people who are like fair weather fans of Prince, it bothers me. For people who like know like how deep and like how varied his art is and how much he did, I don't mind it. It's also a little like, I mean, he was just, he had so much going on and he was just a virtuoso with anything he picked up. And I'm like, I'm like the, Timmy version of Prince, like the budget version of Prince. But, uh,
Well,
but
perhaps,
yeah,
perhaps
yeah,
you
I'll
should
take it.
replace
I'll
the
take it.
recluse
Yeah,
bit on your website
yeah,
with that
yeah,
about
yeah.
it instead.
But sometimes people hear falsetto and they're like, "Oh, it's like Prince." I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
there's also Curtis Mayfield and Philip Bailey, and other people did falsetto too." But I'll
Yeah.
take that. I'll take that. He's a big influence.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would probably describe myself as a fair weather fan. I mean, I know the obvious stuff. I love Sign the Times.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know all
yeah.
the albums from the late
If you
80s.
like Sign of the Times, you're not a Fairweather fan. I mean, most people know Purple Rain and maybe like a couple songs from 1999. And it's weird to me because until the Rock Hall of Fame and that Super Bowl performance, people didn't really like now it's like a thing that like people like Prince and like until he did those performances, he was not. He was going, oh, what's he done since Purple Rain? Or, he's just weird now. Didn't he change his name? Blah, blah, blah. But I think, especially that Super Bowl performance, people like kind of
Oh yeah,
woke up to
that
like
is.
how
I mean,
much he had going on. Yeah.
I've watched that on YouTube before. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
an incredible.
I mean, it rained during Purple Rain and he
Yeah.
killed it.
And
Like,
the
it's
bit where
just,
it's
it's
streaming down.
incredible.
He says, "It's stuck. Can I play
I
my
mean,
guitar?"
it's just undeniable.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't blame people for not like knowing how much he had going on. But he was really one of the greatest live performers
But sort of
ever.
from the mid '90s onwards, there's a bewildering set of albums I know very, very little about. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
is there a lot to be? Are there sort of hidden treasures in all the stuff from later on?
yeah. It's like especially me and my brothers like know all that stuff like kind of backwards and forwards. I mean, I kind of fell off myself like by like 2010 or whatever. I think the last time I saw him live was maybe 2008. It's just hard to get tickets, and he didn't really come around uh my neck of the
Well,
woods much.
if you ever have a spare, if you want to go down a rabbit hole and make me a playlist of Prince songs that I
Oh,
possibly wouldn't know, then I'd be
I could
delighted
do
to
that.
listen to
I
it.
could do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be great. So back to your finale choice. So I mean, there's so many things on Sign the Times. It's such an eclectic bag of creativity. It's like he couldn't stop himself, isn't it? You go from like
Yeah,
lengthy funk
yeah,
workouts,
yeah,
tender ballads to The
yeah.
Cross, which is just a great epic rock song. I mean, it's
Yeah.
incredible. But you've gone for the Ballad of Dorothy Parker. Why particularly this one?
This is kind of like ground zero for that whole record. Um, I was joking to a friend of mine, his engineer, Susan Rogers, um, who kind of started working with him during the Purple Rain era. She tells this story about getting a call, as he would do in the middle of the night. He woke up, he's like, I just had a dream. I need to record this song. I'll meet you at the studio. And the studio at that time was his house, and he had just gotten this new mixing decks. And she hadn't set it up yet. So he's like in the studio, he's got his lyric sheet, and he would go from the drums to the bass to the guitar and just build it one track at a time, like start to finish. He moved very quickly when he knew exactly what he was doing when he went in the studio. And she's like noticing that, like, and I think the voltage, she hadn't been able to check it and test it. So she's listening, and on her headphones, it sounds like everything's underwater. It's like all muted and muffled. And she's like, oh my God, he's gonna kill me. And he comes back, and you can even hear it in the mic. There's like distortion in his vocal when he finally does the vocal. And she said he went through the whole thing. He put the whole thing together and came into and they're listening, and he's like, sounds kind of muffled, huh? And she's like, oh yeah. He's like, yeah, I kind of like it. But I remember listening to it, in high school when I first bought the album as soon as it came out on my little Sony Walkman, my little maroon Sony Walkman. And I mean, hearing those first two tracks, but then coming to this one, it felt like I was underwater, especially with those keyboards or so kind of like a wave or whatever. And it sounded weird to me too, but I'll never forget the first listen to this song. It's like I'm like, do I even like this? This just feels and sounds so weird. But over the years, it's like it's ultimately become my favorite Prince song. It's the one I keep coming back to. And kind of the same reason that I love Don't Interrupt the Sorrow. There's like that poetry of it in an everyday conversation, this weird song about, meeting a waitress named Dorothy Parker, and was he cheating on his girlfriend with this waitress or was he not? And it sounds like it's from a dream. In fact, when I perform it, I've only performed it live a couple times, like on an acoustic guitar, but I'll end it with like the Norwegian wood riff because it's kind of
Okay, yeah.
thematically it has a lot of similarities to Norwegian wood, right down to, I mean, there's even a bathtub.
Dorothy was a waitress on the promenade. She worked a night shift. Dishwater blonde, tall and fine. She got a lot of tips. Well, earlier I've been talking stuff in a violent room, fighting with lovers past. I needed someone with a quicker wit than mine. Dorothy was fast. Well, I ordered, yeah, let me get a fruit cocktail. I ain't too hungry. Dorothy laughed. She said, sound like a real man to me. You're kinda cute. You wanna take a bath? Do you want kinda going with someone. She said, sound like a real man to me. Mind if I turn on the radio? Oh, my favorite song, she said, and it was Joni singing. Help me, I think I'm born. Phone rang and she said, who ever's color can't be as cute as you. Right then and there I knew I was through. Was gone. She was blind, and fiction brought home by a witch's curse. Dorothy made me laugh. I felt much better, so I went back to the violin room. Let me tell you what I did. I took another bubble bath, with my pants on. All the fighting stopped. Next time I do it sooner.
From the 1987 album Sign of the Times, that was Prince with the ballad of Dorothy Parker. And if you are a Fairweather Prince fan who knows a few songs of Purple Rain, then I can't say much about the back catalogue from the 90s onwards, but I will heartily recommend you go and listen to Sign of the Times, because the whole world of music is there, and it's an extraordinary...
I will also say, when friends of mine who weren't that into Prince, they would say, where do I start? I say, listen to the Sign of the Times album, and then watch the Sign of the Times movie to see how he blows those songs up live. And it really is, it's like a master course in like how, because the songs almost sound like demos, you know?
Yeah. And it also contains the best song Bruce Springsteen never wrote,
which is
I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man.
Yeah.
I mean, you can almost think of it now. You can almost hear Bruce singing.
I can't hear it. It's Dancing in the Dark. They're like very, very similar. Yeah. I finally saw Bruce for the first time a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually saw his Broadway show. That was the first time I saw it, and that was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
So we've come to the end of your mix. I hope you enjoyed putting it together and coming on.
Yeah, this is great. I really, engaging like this, it helps me think about art in general, and also, the music that I make. It informs and inspires what I'm trying to do with my stuff by revisiting, a lot of my faves, not including my own song, of course, but